Now, fly tipping, an eyesore that can blight communities. Cleaning it up can cost councils millions of pounds.
Well, after receiving nearly 5,500 reports of waste and fly tipping in the past year, Middlesbrough Council are using a different tactic to try to deter offenders. They use a van seized after the town's biggest fly tipping incident to warn other lawbreakers that they'll be caught. Our reporter Stuart Wincup can explain.
First they're seized, then they're destroyed. 5 vehicles in the last year, crushed after they were used for fly tipping. But not every vehicle ends up on the scrap heap. Some are now being repurposed and reused.
This vehicle was seized as a result of the biggest fly tip we've ever seen in Middlesbrough.
61 tonnes of waste dumped close to a children's nursery. Last year, Darren Mills was given a 9-month suspended prison sentence. But now every day his van tours the town, warning fly tippers they will be caught and will be prosecuted.
It's really powerful. It is really powerful, and somebody losing their vehicle is ultimately going to dent their livelihood. They're running businesses from using vans like this. If you take that away, it creates a real impact on their operations. You lose your business, you lose your vehicle, you end up with a criminal record.
And fly tipping is a big problem in the town.
Over the last 12 months, Middlesbrough Council has received almost 5,500 calls about waste and fly tipping. Now, during that time, it's issued 120 fixed penalty notices. Now, some people have been ordered to pay fines of £800.
There are many firms advertising online offering to fill a van with household waste for £20 or £30. But this is where it often ends up.
Fly tipping is a blight on society, and people not only feel outraged the fact that people are doing it, but then the fact that the taxpayers are then having to carry the burden for getting removed as well, when actually there's enough ways for people to get rid of the waste responsibly, and some of these charlatan companies who are causing more sort of misery in the community. So we will find you, we will catch you, and we will absolutely sanction you.
The council says it will continue to take tough action, destroying or reusing the vehicles in the fight against fly tipping. Stuart Wincup, BBC News.
Well, let's talk now to John Reid, who's the founder of the anti-litter organisation Clean Up Britain. John, morning to you. So Middlesbrough there going quite drastic, crushing the cars of anyone that's caught fly tipping. How will this work in practice? Do we know? Is it sort of, 3 strikes and you're out, or is this first offence, the van's gone?
Well, I don't know the exact details of it, but what I can say is that I think Middlesbrough Council should be commended for doing that, because we really do need to send, as a country, a very strong message to fly tippers that they will be caught and they will be dealt with severely. And Clean Up Britain, we're entirely in favour of vehicles, such as was mentioned in your piece there, being seized and crushed or indeed sold to pay for the huge cost of cleanups.
Yeah, and we know what bigger problem it is and quite how much of a blight it is on communities, particularly, of course, people like farmers. We've talked about them on the programme before because it's private land. They are in charge of getting rid of it. They're not the council. But that's why I asked you about the details, because the hardest bit with fly tipping is simply finding out who did it.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult indeed, and you obviously have to provide the evidence, which usually involves video evidence. There are 1 or 2 councils who are really leading the way here and trailblazing, and one of them being Buckinghamshire Council, who have been very, very successful at actually adopting innovative ways to catch fly tippers and then to prosecute and get them convicted. So, it can be done. The resolve needs to be there. But we would also say that in addition to confiscating people's fly tippers' vehicles, actually they need to get severe fines. And we would like to see people who are doing fly tipping for commercial reasons get a minimum fine of £10,000 and also be banned from driving for 12 months. Because actually it's a very lucrative trade, and although their vehicle might have been confiscated, nevertheless they could easily buy another one, obviously, and off they go again. It's going to be a lot more difficult if they're banned from driving for 12 months.
Yeah, John, in terms of how effective the vehicle confiscation is as a deterrent, as you say, you're calling for more punitive financial measures. Because isn't that potentially more effective? Because, of course, it's very symbolic, isn't it, confiscating the van? But in terms of how effective it is, do you think it has any more weight than a fine?
I mean, certainly it is symbolic and it will disrupt their business, inverted commas, but it's just not enough in itself. I mean, I give credit again to Middlesbrough Council. They deserve a lot of credit for what they're doing. And we'd like to see other councils like Middlesbrough and indeed Buckinghamshire adopting a really hard approach against fly tippers, because we need to make it a huge deterrent to fly tipping in this country. And the way to do that is to hurt people in their pockets. So we'd like to see, as I say, a £10,000 fine, for mandatory fine, anyone caught fly tipping in connection with a business, and their vehicle confiscated, seized, and also then being banned for driving for 12 months. This is the sort of hardline approach that will actually start making a difference, because we're dealing with human behaviour here. If the cost benefit ratio starts going against them and they think this is a serious problem now if I get caught, then they might start thinking twice about it. We've really got to get tough on it, and I'd like to see we'd like to see all councils adopting the sort of measures that I've outlined.
And John, briefly, isn't prevention better though? It's about stopping people choosing these people to get rid of their rubbish and actually making it easier for people to get rid of stuff themselves. That's often the problem for some councils, isn't it? Where do you take stuff you want to get rid of?
It is sometimes across the country that can be an issue as well. But one thing I would say is that, you know, householders, people who've got waste, they might have been doing DIY or something like that, they have got a duty of care as well. And they must make sure that the waste that they're handing on to so-called sort of waste carriers who are responsible, they need to check that the people they're giving their waste to are serious, regulated people, and they're going to dispose of the waste properly. That is a problem. And the final thing I'd say here is that another thing would make a huge difference in terms of reducing fly tipping if the government introduced digital payments for fly tipping only. In other words, no more cash payments, because cash can't be traced. Digital payments on things like Apple Pay and Visa can be traced. It'd be a lot easier to trace down the people who are currently destroying our country.
Good advice, John. Thank you. John Reid there, founder of Clean Up Britain. Good to have you with us this morning. Thank you.